It was 3 a.m. when the lights hit my eyes, red and blue dancing across the lake. I'd come here to breathe, to sit quietly under the whisper of the water, to remember who I am even when the world forgets. But Linda didn't care about that. She was the HOA Vice President, and she wanted me gone. "Sir, you're trespassing on HOA property," she yelled. Her voice cracked across the calm water, breaking it like glass. 4 nights in a row, she called the police. 4 nights in a row, she told them I was threatening the community. 4 nights in a row, she demanded I be arrested. And every night, I stayed quiet. I watched the lake ripple under the moon. I let the officers run their plates, check my ID, and leave with nothing. Linda didn't know who I was. To her, I was just another man on a bench. A man sitting too close to the water she thought she owned. She didn't know I was Michael Foster, Senior Federal Prosecutor, U.S. Department of Justice. I didn't need to flash a badge. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to prove anything, because Linda was proving everything for me. Every 911 call, every fake claim, every moment she stood there, recording with trembling hands. She was building her own case, and she didn't even know it. I remember the 4th night. Linda screamed, "You're not above the law." She shook, finger jabbing the air. The police sighed, radios crackling softly in the dawn breeze. They looked at me. I nodded. They left. Linda stood alone, red robe flapping in the night wind. She brought titles. I brought the badge. If you've ever had a Karen like this in your neighborhood, you know how heavy the silence can feel. Take a second to tap the like button. Comment your HOA nightmare story below. And subscribe if you want more stories where justice meets people who think they're above it. The courthouse smelled of old wood and lemon polish. Linda was there, face pale, clutching her file of evidence. Whispers moved through the gallery. She had no idea. Not yet. But she was about to find out. The judge's chambers were cold. Linda sat 2 rows ahead, clutching a bright red binder. The same color she wore every night she called the police. Her lawyer whispered in her ear. She kept glancing back at me, her eyes full of the same fear she once tried to place on me. She thought this was just another hearing, another HOA dispute, another day she could swing her weight around. But Linda didn't understand the courtroom. Not like I did. Not like I was trained to. "Michael Foster," the clerk called. I stood. The judge, an older man with kind but tired eyes, looked up. He paused. Then he said it. "Sir, would you please approach the bench?" Linda's face dropped. Her lawyer stiffened. The courtroom fell silent. I walked forward slowly. Every step was deliberate, calm, controlled. I placed my documents on the bench. The judge nodded, recognizing the seal, the Department of Justice, the badge. Linda's eyes widened. She realized she had spent weeks screaming at the wrong man. I turned, looking directly at her, not with anger, not with pride, just silence, because silence can be the loudest judgment of all. The judge cleared his throat. "Mrs. Linda, I've reviewed the evidence," he said. Linda stood, trembling. She tried to interrupt. "Your Honor, he was trespassing. He threatened." The judge held up his hand. "Mrs. Linda, please sit down." She sank back into her chair, clutching her binder. The judge turned to me. "Mr. Foster, thank you for your patience," he said. I nodded. Linda's lawyer whispered urgently. Linda's face turned pale. She realized it was over. 4 nights, 4 calls, 4 false reports, all documented, all filed, all under review. The judge's voice echoed through the courtroom. "Mrs. Linda, It appears you have abused emergency services, filed false police reports, and engaged in targeted harassment. And Linda gasped. She tried to stand. Her lawyer pulled her down. If you've ever dealt with a Karen who thinks she owns the world. The judge continued. Mr. Foster has shown immense restraint, while you, Mrs. Linda, have shown a pattern of harassment and abuse of power. The courtroom was dead silent, except for the sound of Linda quietly crying. The gavel hit, hard, echoing. Linda's world shattered in that moment. She looked at me, tears, regret, and fear all mixed on her face. But I didn't look away, because sometimes you need to let people see the weight of their actions. And Linda saw it, all of it, in the silence. She finally saw herself. Linda couldn't look at me anymore. She clutched her binder like it was a life jacket, but the waters were rising, and there was no lifeboat. The judge ordered a recess. Linda's lawyer leaned over, whispering harshly. Her eyes darted around, looking for a way out, but there was none. Outside the courtroom, the hallway smelled of coffee and floor polish. Police officers stood nearby. They nodded at me, not because of the badge, but because they understood. They'd been called out at 3 a.m. They'd seen Linda standing in her robe, screaming, waving HOA bylaws. They were tired of it too. Linda came out of the courtroom. She avoided my eyes, but I saw the moment it hit her. The weight of false power, the cost of pride. Her lawyer tried to console her, but even he looked defeated. Because he knew, you can't build a case on ego. I stepped outside. The morning air was cool. The sun was rising over the lake. The same lake she tried to keep me from. The same lake she called hers but it wasn't hers. It never was. A neighbor approached me, an older man, Vietnam veteran, cap on his head. He'd seen the patrol cars, the drama, the noise, and he just nodded. About time someone stood up to her, he said. I smiled. We shook hands. Two men who'd seen the world, who understood freedom, who understood what it means to sit by the water in peace. Linda came down the steps. She saw us. She hesitated. She opened her mouth, then closed it, and turned away. She learned something that day. Property rights aren't about HOA power. They're about respect, about community, about letting a man sit by the water without fear. Because sometimes justice doesn't knock. It waits. It watches. It lets the guilty write their own sentence. And Linda did. 4 nights in a row. 4 false calls. 4 reports. She didn't know. She was building her own verdict. Soft CTA for retention, if you believe in standing up for your rights. If you've ever dealt with an HOA Karen, hit the like button. Drop your story in the comments. And subscribe for more real HOA stories. Because you deserve to sit by your lake. The judge called us back in. Linda looked smaller, like the weight had finally pressed down. Her voice was softer. She tried to apologize, but it was too late. The judgment was done. Community service, fines, mandatory classes, and a public record, the same system she tried to weaponize, now turned back on her. As I walked out, I glanced back. The courtroom felt lighter. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Like water lapping at the shore. Like the breeze moving across the lake. And sometimes, justice just looks you in the eye. And calls you, Sir. Rip, it was quiet after. No more 3 a.m. flashing lights. No more screams tearing through the night. No more fear that the next knock would be handcuffs. The lake was peaceful again. The moonlight rippled on the water. A soft breeze moved the trees. Neighbors started coming back. Old men with coffee cups. Women walking dogs. Kids throwing stones and laughing. They nodded at me, a silent thank you, because they knew sometimes you don't need to yell to fight back. Sometimes you don't need to argue. You just need to sit and wait. Linda's red robe was gone now. She avoided the lake. She avoided us. Her power wasn't gone, but it was smaller, because now everyone knew. She learned that the community isn't hers to control, and that power used to hurt others comes back every time. I sat on my bench, the same spot she tried to take, coffee in hand, hat pulled low, the dawn rising, a quiet victory, a small piece of freedom. Because freedom isn't always loud. It's not always flags waving and fireworks. Sometimes it's a man sitting by a lake, breathing, free. I thought of the years I spent serving, of the courtroom battles, of the long nights preparing cases against men and women who thought they were above the law. Linda was just a small echo of that. A reminder that no one is above accountability, no title, no HOA badge, no fear tactics. The lake shimmered, the world felt right again. Strong final CTA for retention and engagement if you believe in standing your ground. If you believe property rights belong to everyone. If you've ever had to fight a Karen in your neighborhood, hit the like button, share your story in the comments, and subscribe, because on this channel, we tell the stories they try to silence. We remind Karens that freedom still has a place, and justice will always find its way home. The water lapped at the shore. The birds began to sing. A new day, a quiet victory, and a reminder that sometimes the strongest words are the ones that don't need to be spoken.
You can bring titles, but we'll bring the badge. And that is how justice is served.
Quietly, calmly, at 3 a.m., by a lake